Today is Democracy Day in Nigeria. 26 years ago, the country returned to democracy. In those years, the country saw the emergence of 5 presidents and several elections which ushered in new sets of leaders both at the national and state levels. Originally celebrated on May 29, the day Nigeria transitioned to democracy in the swearing-in of former President Olusegun Obasanjo on the same date in 1999, democracy was moved to June 12 in 2018 by the government of former President Muhammadu Buhari in honor of the June 12, 1993 election described as the country's freest polls. To mark this year's Democracy Day, President Bola Tinubu is expected to address the nation at a joint session of the National Assembly. Several other activities have been lined up at the nation's capital and across the country to celebrate the day. Unlike previous year, the ceremonial parade will not be held in the nation's capital. Speaking about this year's celebration, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugar, said the anniversary was a model of West African democracy. In a statement by Al-Qasim Abdul Qadir, a special assistant, Tugar called Nigeria's democracy a model worthy of emulation as the subcontinent faces growing political uncertainty. Governors have called on Nigerians to defend the country's democracy and reflect on the progress made so far. The governor of Niger State, Umar Bago, said this year's Democracy Day symbolized the victory of the collective will of the people over dictatorship. According to him, the day reminds every patriotic Nigerian of the struggles, sacrifice, aspirations, and resilience of our past heroes and heroines. He said those state counterparts Monday, Kwebelo said Nigerians should reflect on the enduring lessons of June 12 and renew their commitment to the principles of democracy, justice, and unity. The governor of Kaduna State, Uba Sani, shared similar sentiments like his counterparts from Edo State and Niger State. Sani urges leaders and citizens to use the occasion to renew their commitment to upholding democratic values and work together for a brighter, more equitable future for the country. On the spot, the suspended governor of Rivers State, Similai Fubara, reaffirmed his commitment to the promotion of inclusive democratic participation for all citizens, regardless of political affiliation. Fubara said Rivers State's democratic journey was one shaped by both triumphs and trials, which was a testament to the need to remain steadfast. Governor Basio too of Cross River State reaffirmed his unwavering commitment to upholding the tenets of democracy and providing tangible benefits to the people of the state. Meanwhile, protests has commenced in the Federal Capital Territory to demonstrate against the rising hardship and insecurity in the country. Security agencies have earlier deployed heavily armed personnel to strategic locations across the city, including potential protest hotspots. The presence of operatives was particularly noticeable at major junctions and the National Assembly, among other places where the protesters could have gathered. However, the protest, which coincides with Nigeria's Democracy Day, commenced in the Apo area of Abuja, where demonstrators were seen chanting solidarity songs and waving placards to express their grievances. The protesters had resolved to carry out a demonstration at the National Assembly as well as 19 other locations across the country. In the same vein, the Co-Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, Shehu Mohammed, has called on Nigerians to prioritize safety and demonstrate moderation and care for others while using the roads. This appeal was contained in a statement issued on Thursday by the Corps Public Education Officer Olusegun Ogungbemide in Abuja. According to the Corps Marshal, the call has become imperative as Nigeria marks the 2025 edition of Democracy Day, observed nationwide on Thursday, June 12. According to him, national holidays like Democracy Day typically witness increased human and vehicular movement, which, if not well managed, could result in avoidable road crashes. He appealed to the public to avoid actions that reflect disregard for traffic rules and endanger the lives of fellow road users. Mohammed emphasized that roads were shared spaces that requires discipline, orderliness, and mutual respect among users to ensure safety and stability. The court martial also congratulated Nigerians on the milestone of 26 years of uninterrupted democratic governance, which the Democracy Day holiday symbolizes. It reaffirmed the FRS's commitment to ensuring safer roads during and after the celebration. Away from Democracy Day celebration, now Air Peace has denied recent allegations by Adams Oshiomhole, describing his claims of extortion and overbooking as deliberate falsehood. In a statement by the airline's management on X, Air Peace said, quote, "The senator lied blatantly when he accused Air Peace of extorting its passengers. We challenged Senator Oshiomhole to bring one evidence of a passenger that was extorted," end of quote. The airline insisted that no ticket was sold after the closure of check-in on the flight in question, and that the aircraft departed with over 30 empty seats. Air Peace said the flight was not overbooked, contrary to what the senator alleged in his videos. Addressing further claims by the former Edo State governor, Air Peace accused him of unruly behavior at the airport. Air Peace also called on the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria to release CCTV footage of the incident. Earlier, Oshiomhole had claimed that he missed his Air Peace flight from Lagos to Abuja due to the airline's disorganized operations. He said he had already complained with the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo. According to the senator, the ordeal began the previous week when his Air Peace flight was delayed for 5 hours before it was cancelled. He said he tried to use Ibom Air afterwards but was denied boarding despite his assistant having already checked on his luggage. Lagos State Commissioner for Tourism, Arts and Culture, Toke Benson Awoyinka, has met with key international stakeholders to spotlight indigenous fashion and textiles on the global stage. The engagement was with the founder of Africa Fashion Week London and Nigeria, Ronke Ademuluyi Ogunwusi, and the British Deputy High Commissioner, Johnny Baxter. A statement signed by the Deputy Director of Public Affairs at the Ministry, Adeoti Sobowale, said the celebration of the 15th edition of Africa Fashion Week London was part of the discussions at the meeting. The Africa Fashion Week London is a milestone achievement for the continent's global fashion movement. Benson Awoyinka said the meeting was aimed at advancing the cultural and economic potential of Adire textiles as iconic Yoruba fabric as a major export and symbol of Nigeria's rich heritage. Benson Awoyinka said the state was committed to supporting creative platforms that empower designers, preserve cultural identity, and contribute meaningfully to its economy. The commissioner said such partnerships were vital in amplifying African narratives and positioning the state as the heartbeat of fashion and creativity on the continent. You are currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on the Voice of the People, VOP 90.3 FM. We'll take a short break. When we return, we head into the news analysis segment with Peter Anosike, our current affairs analyst. This is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Joining me to analyze the news is Peter Anosike, a current affairs analyst. Thank you, sir, for joining us on the news today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, democracy today is Nigeria's Democracy Day, and of course, 26 years ago, the country returned to democracy after years of military dictatorship. Let's start with the assessments of our democracy. How would you assess our democracy so far? 26 years, well, that's some time.
Well, for me, another name for the democracy is development. Another name for democracy is freedom. But the truth is that, are we witnessing development in the country? Or the answer is no. Are we free in this country? The answer is no. And the truth is that what is being run as democracy in Nigeria currently is nothing but autocracy. I can comfortably say that we witness more development under the military than in the present dispensation. Understand? So that Nigerians are celebrating 26 years of democracy. It is the politicians that are celebrating, not the Nigerian masses, because the Nigerian masses has nothing to celebrate at all. Their life are not being impacted in any way because of the current system of government that is being run in the country. It is the elites that are benefiting from this democracy.
Some would argue that 26 years is still a very young democracy compared to other democracy in the world, like US that have been in democracy for like 200 years. So 26 years, there's bound to be some bumps, and there's bound to be some mistakes. So it is those mistakes that we're experiencing now.
A 26-year-old child is an adult. A 26-year-old human being is an adult.
You can't compare it to 150 years or 200 years.
We shouldn't be comparing. Every country has what makes it unique. Understand? Now, we shouldn't be comparing ourselves with other countries. The issue is are we witnessing development in the country under a so-called democratic system? Or the answer is no. Understand? So the Nigerian masses are not rejoicing. Rather, it is the politicians that are rejoicing. So our democracy was founded on a wrong foundation. Understand? And anything that has a deficit in the foundation cannot stand. And that's the reason why we are not progressing. What we are doing is one step forward and 4 steps backwards.
So what are the wrong foundations, though?
One, or the people that fought for this democracy have all been forgotten. And the Beko Ramsekuti of this world, the Gani Fawemi of this world, the Onisa Abakoba of this world. These are the people that stuck out their head and rescued this democracy from the military. Today, they are not being remembered. Democracy is about the well-being of the people, the welfare of the people. Understand? The government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But what we have today is tyranny of the minority. That's what you have in Nigeria today, tyranny of the minority. This government is not for the people. It's just for a few. Understand me? Mm-hmm. So Nigerian masses are not celebrating a democracy. It's only less than 1% that is celebrating democracy, because they are the ones that are benefiting from the system.
Now, let's take a look at what we've gotten right and what we've gotten wrong. Let's start with the right, though, because, I mean, it can't be all bad.
What the right there?
There should be one or two. I mean, first of all, the fact that it is a democratic country in itself is not exactly a bad idea.
Democracy does not mean putting aside khaki and wearing suit or abwada. Understand me? There's what we call democratic integrity, which is lacking in this system. The tenets of democracy, freedom of speech, freedom of association is not being upheld. Separation of powers are not being upheld in this system. It is only the executive that is functioning. The institutions have all been compromised. So this is not democracy, but autocracy.
So you've not seen anything we've done wrong. We've not seen we've done right, rather nothing right so far in the last 26 years.
There's nothing to be proud of in the past 26 years. What you can say that few people have become billionaires. That is all. This system has made few people billionaires because they are stealing from the commonwealth of the masses.
Now, when I read or watch a documentary of some other democracies in other countries, when they were young, they tend to have lots of problems. Elections, for example, I mean, we've seen pockets of violence here and there in our elections, but that's just what it is, pockets of violence here and there. We've not seen like full-blown war or riot that have characterized so many other young democracies. You don't think that's an achievement?
Are the elections getting better or getting worse? Are the elections, because assuming that we are practicing democracy, we will be leaving individuals to institutions. Understand? Things are supposed to be getting better in the country, but are the systems getting better or getting worse? Understand? Today, the judiciary have been compromised. The legislative organ have been compromised. It is only the executive that is active. Understand me? It is only the executive that is active. We have individuals who are bigger than institutions, and you call this a democracy. It is not a democracy unless somebody wants to deceive himself.
So,
if you know what we have gotten right, you tell me.
So we've seen what's happening in some part of the world, even in Africa, western part of Africa to be precise. So we've seen some unconstitutional takeover, Niger, Burkina Faso, for example. We know democracy has its loopholes, and some of those loopholes make them a little fragile. How fragile is our own democracy right now?
Excuse me, there's nothing different from what happened in Niger and Burkina Faso from what is happening in Nigeria. If election is not free and fair, it is not the democracy. If the vote of the people does not count, it is not a democracy. If there's no freedom of speech, it is not a democracy. So the only difference between Niger and Nigeria is that their head of government is wearing military uniform, and our own is wearing agbada. There's nothing again. It's something.
So how do we make our democracy stronger, away from its core fragility?
By building institutions. Understand me? By building strong institutions that will stand on their own, rather than being dependent on the man in power in Aso Rock. Understand me? Because today we have individuals that are stronger than institutions. So once the institutions are not strong, what you are practicing is not democracy. Once there's no separation of powers, what you are practicing is not democracy. Once the National Assembly, which has its as a mandate to be checkmating the excesses of the executive, is not doing that. It's not a democratic system. And these are what's are happening in this country.
So
no checks and balances. The judiciary is not free, and you call it a democracy. This is autocracy.
Okay, let's take a look at the president's decision to cancel the democracy speech today. The Tinubu administration has been accused of talking. Of course, we get to hear some statements via his aide and some statements in an event. He is to address the National Assembly, though. Are they the same thing, talking to the nations via the National Assembly and the platform of the National Assembly, or a national broadcast? Do they have the same effect?
No, but as of talking, we have a national orientation agency that are supposed to be a kind of engaging the people. Understand me? We have a national orientation agency, but they deliberately killed it. Understand?
We do still have, though.
National Orientation Agency worked under Mike Omire, and that ended in 2015. Buhari never funded the National Orientation Agency. National Orientation Agency has offices in the 36 states of this country. Go to the one in Lagos in Ikeja. It is like a madman's house because it is not being funded, because they don't want people to know, because government have nothing to tell other people. So I thank God for the social media, because without the social media, Russia would have been safer than Nigeria. North Korea would have been safer than Nigeria. So it is the social media that we are knowing what the government is doing, because the legacy media, the traditional media, are in the hands of the ruling party. Understand? So the only means of information for Nigerians is through the social media. Newspapers are not telling you the whole truth. Radio stations are not telling you all the whole truth. TV stations are not telling you the whole truth, because all of them are in the hands of the members of the APC. So even when they talk or they don't talk, it wouldn't make any meaning. What Nigerians want is better life for them. Understand? Reduction in the cost of food prices, no energy, reduction in the cost of transport. Understand me? Then that's what is known as fundamentals. Those things that people need on a daily basis. Cut their prices. Understand? That's what we want in the country. Understand me? Once the standard of living of Nigerians are okay, Tinubu can be there for the next 100 years. Understand me? So, but they are not doing it because they don't care what the masses are going through. They don't feel what the masses are feeling. This is 2025. President 2027 billboards are already everywhere. So he's more concerned with his election than the welfare of the people of the country.
So, but some people may be tempted to say, okay, with the myriad of issues we're having, from economic to security, one would have expected the presidents will have made some decisions, made some structures, and a day like this will be the best time for you to speak to the country from your office. Let everyone see you, and then tell the country the plan you have for the next 2 years.
That is,
or at least reassuring Nigerians that things will be better.
That's assuming he has. That's assuming he has.
Even if he hasn't, I think do a national broadcast reassuring the country have a way of dousing some tension. Don't you think so?
If you believe them now. Because we have been hearing this since 2015, and it has not reduced the 10 naira from the fuel that we buy on a daily basis. Nigerians want action, not words, not presidential broadcast. Nigeria wants action, understand me? They want one, to their farmers are no more going to their farms. Assuming if they are going to their farms, they will be having food to eat, because government doesn't care about whether they are eating or not. They cannot go to their farm. They cannot even go for their businesses. Understand? So we have been assured over and over for more than 10 years now. Enough of rhetorics. What we need is action in the country. We have heard enough words. So what we need is action. Every day we are being punished with taxes and other things. So for me, I don't even think if Nigerians are still interested in listening to the president anymore, because it adds nothing to their daily existence.
Now let's take a look at democracy in Nigeria, realignment and restructuring. There have been two parties, one calling for total realignment and restructuring. As you said, our democracy has been have a faulty foundation, and then this part of the divide says we need a whole different set of restructuring, a whole different set of constitution. The constitutions are archaic. There are a lot of things that need to be done. Our system of government needs to be changed. Power needs to be moved away from the center. We need the regional system of government as it was in the Third Republic, if I'm not mistaken.
First Republic,
Exactly.
1960 to 1966.
Good. And then we have the other part of the divide, the other people that says no, we don't need restructuring. All we just need is a tweak here and there of our constitution, and we will be fine. So, which side of the divide do you stand, and why?
For me, I'm in support of regions. I'm in support of regions because Nigeria developed more in 1960 to 1966 than from 1966 to 2025. The achievements that we made then, we've not made it since 1966, understand me? One, what does regions do? Regions helps you to develop at your own pace. Region helps you to develop at your own pace. Regions brings competition. It was when Obafemi Awolowo used cocoa to build the University of Ibadan that Zik was forced to use palm oil to build the University of Nigeria and Nsukka. Understand me? So this is competition. Understand? One, it also helps creativity because your destiny is in your own hands. You are to make use of the resources under you are fit for development. Unlike this Amajeri system of government that we are now running since 1966. Because what we are running up to today is unitary system of government, which they say it's federal. It is not federal. We are not running a federal government. What we are running is unitary system.
So what's the difference between the unitary system and the federal government, federal system of government?
One, in a unitary system, power is concentrated at the center. Understand me? And that's why every month, governors go to Abuja for allocation. They don't have power over the natural resources in their own area. There's bitumen everywhere in Ondo, but the governor cannot touch it because mineral resources is under the exclusive reach of the president. That's of the center. Understand me? So what we are running now is a Amajeri system. At the end of every month, the governor will go to Abuja for allocation. He will come back and begin to do whatever he wants. At the end of the next month, he will still go. That's not how a government should be run. Understand? But in a federal system, the component part has as much power as that of the federal government. Governors can exercise, can think out of the box, can develop their own states with the resources within. Understand me? Then things like currency and security will now be handled. That's from the federal level. An instance, what is happening in California as we speak? There's riot in California now because
Donald Trump.
Migrants are protesting, and Donald Trump sent federal troops there. The governor of California,
Newsom,
say no, you have no power to send federal troops unless I called you to. That is unconstitutional.
Except I call for help
unless
or assistance.
I call for help. In the same way, Tinubu has no power to declare state of emergency in rivers unless Fubra say, I need help. I have been overwhelmed. Understand me? So this shows you that what we are practicing is unitary system and never federal system. So that's the truth.
Now, some people have. Let's use the security now, for example, where one side of the divide have said, like as you said, in the federal system of government, the security is in the hands of the governors and the resources and everything. Some have said the governors will abuse the power if they have too much power. In other words, the presidents can manage powers better than governors. If a governor can control the security and the resources at his disposal, if he can be in charge of the police in his state, they will abuse it. Do you agree with that?
There's no perfect document anywhere in the world, even the scriptures. There's no perfect document. Even if you check Nigerian Constitution American Constitution is worse than Nigerian Constitution. Understand me?
Nigerian what? I didn't get that.
American Constitution is worse than Nigerian Constitution because in America you can rule from prison. Understand me? You can rule from prison in America. Donald Trump was convicted on 43 cases. He's the president of America today. But in Nigeria, a convict cannot stand for an election. Understand me? So there's no perfect document anywhere in the world. So a governor having a state police, which is part of the federal system, because in New York, in America, they have an NYPD, New York Police Department. So they have their own state police. Understand? So in Nigeria, assuming that Ondo has Ondo State Police
Department.
Understand me? Somebody from Katsina, a policeman from Katsina, cannot come to Ondo and begin to take care of securities because he doesn't know the terrain. He doesn't speak the same language. People will not even trust him. Understand? But if Ondo State has their own state police and recruited from Ondo State, they know everywhere. Understand me? So they will combat security more than somebody from outside. They speak the same language. Understand me? Understand? He will be getting more information than a stranger. Understand? So the subject of abuse is also there, but the advantages outweighs the disadvantages.
Thank you very much, Peter Nosike, for your analysis and your insight. Thank you again for joining us on World News at 12.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
That's Peter Anosike, a current affairs analyst, talking to us right here. Now, to continue the news broadcast, let's take a look at the international news. A London-based Air India plane carrying 242 people has crashed shortly after takeoff in Ahmedabad, Western India. Flight AI-171 was traveling from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick. There were 169 Indian nationals on the flight, as well as 53 Britons, 1 Canadian national, and 7 Portuguese nationals, Air India says. Tracking website FlightRadar24 says it received the last signal from the aircraft at 625 feet, that's 190 meters, just seconds after takeoff. Videos from the scene show black smoke rising over a residential area. Rescue workers are still trying to put out a fire. This Air India strike, a crash, is the first time a Boeing 787 aircraft has come down like this. The model was launched 14 years ago, and just 6 weeks ago, the plane maker loaded the fact the model, also known as the Dreamliner, has reached the milestone of carrying 1 billion passengers. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer says his thoughts are with the passengers and families of those on the flight. Still on international news, protests against Donald Trump's harsh immigration policies spread Wednesday across the United States, despite a military-backed crackdown in Los Angeles and threats by the hard-right Republican president to use heavy force. In Los Angeles, where the unrest began last Friday, an overnight curfew intended to keep people out of the downtown area was largely effective, with police arresting around 25 people who had refused to leave. Officers patrolled near government buildings and storekeepers boarded up windows to protect against vandalism, but the area was quiet Wednesday. Around 1,000 troops from the 4,700 that Trump ordered to the city were actively guarding facilities and working alongside ICE agents. Some said Scott Sherman, Deputy Commanding General Army North, who is leading operations. The rest, including 700 active duty Marines, were mustering or undergoing training in dealing with civil disturbances, he said. The Pentagon has said the deployment will cost taxpayers $134 million. The mostly peaceful protest ignited over a sudden escalation in efforts to apprehend migrants who were in the country illegally. And now to sports news, Trent Alexander-Arnold will be offered the same low-key presentation as fellow summer signing Dean Oyson at Real Madrid Training Complex. But the far cry from the wild scene that greeted last season's marquee arrivals. A staggering 60,000 Real Madrid supporters turned out to greet the arrival of Brazil teenager Endrick last July, just a day after 80,000 packed the Santiago Bernabeu to get a first glimpse of Kylian Mbappe. Mbappe's turnout equaled a record set by presentation of Cristiano Ronaldo to the Los Blancos army back in 2009, when the then 24-year-old Portuguese star completed $80 million move from Manchester United. Trent Alexander-Arnold is certainly not the first British player to be tempted by the chance to play for Real Madrid. It follows two other Liverpool exports, Michael Owen and Stephen McManaman, to joins an elite group of British to sign for the Spanish giant. And now, just before we go, here again are the top stories. Nigeria marks 26 years of uninterrupted democratic governance. Governors call on citizens to uphold democratic values. The June 12 protest begins in Abuja amid heavy security. FRC Court Marshal urges Nigerians to be safety conscious. Airpeace denies allegations of extortion and overbooking by Oshomole. On an international scene, Air India flight carrying over 200 passengers crashes. And in sports, Trent Alexander-Arnold to be presented as Real Madrid player. And that's the World News at 12. I am Solomon of Do follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at VOP903FM. Good afternoon and thanks for listening.